Every single person on the planet has within them the potential to be a healer. In order to make conscious contact with your inherent healing powers, you must first make the decision to be healed yourself. Reconnect to the disease-free, loving perfection from which you came is a succinct statement of what self-healing process requires. The universal mind of intention knows precisely what you need in order to optimize your health. What you must do is notice your thoughts and your behaviors, which are creating resistance and interfering with healing, which is the flow of intentional energy. Recognizing your resistance is something that's entirely up to you. Your intention in this chapter is facilitated by looking at the larger objective of returning to your source and vibrating more in harmony with the energy of the power of intention. That source is never focused on what's wrong, what's missing, or even what's sickly. True healing takes you back to the source. Anything short of this connection is just a temporary fix. When you clean up the connecting link to your source, attractor patterns of energy are drawn to you. If you don't believe that this is possible, then you've created resistance to your intention to heal and to be healed. If you believe that it is possible, but not for you, then you have more resistance. If you believe that you're being punished by the absence of health, that's also resistance. These inner thoughts about your ability to be healed play a dominant role in your physical experience. Becoming a healer by healing oneself involves another one of those imaginary somersaults into the inconceivable, where you land upright and balanced in your thoughts face to face with your source. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that you and your source are one when you let go of the ego mind, which has convinced you that you're separate from the power of intention. From thoughts of sickness to intentions of wellness. The decision to create is the decision to intend. To create healing, you can't have thoughts of illness and anticipate your body falling victim to disease. Become aware of the thoughts you have that support the idea of sickness as something to be expected. Begin noticing the frequency of those thoughts. The more they occupy your mental landscape, the more resistance you're creating to realizing your intention. You know what those thoughts of resistance sound like. I can't do anything about this arthritis. It's the flu season. I feel okay now, but by the weekend it'll be in my chest and I'll have a fever. We live in a carcinogenic world. Everything is either fattening or filled with chemicals. I feel so tired all of the time. On and on and on these thoughts of resistance go. They're like huge barricades blocking the realization of your intentions. Notice the thoughts that represent a decision on your part to buy into the illness mentality of the huge profit-making drug companies and a healthcare industry that thrives on your fears. But you're the divine, remember? You're a piece of the universal mind of intention, and you don't have to think in these ways. You can opt to think that you have the ability to raise your energy level even if all of the advertising around you points to a different conclusion. You can go within and hold an intention that says, I want to feel good. I intend to feel good. I intend to return to my source, and I refuse to allow any other thoughts of disorder or disease in. This is the beginning. You'll feel empowered by this unique experience. Then in any given moment of not feeling well, choose thoughts of healing and feeling good. In that instant, feeling good takes over, if only for a few seconds. Illness is not a punishment. You don't have a need for healing because you were bad or ignorant or as retribution for past life offenses. You've taken on whatever you're experiencing for whatever lessons you need to learn on this journey, which is being orchestrated by the all-providing intelligence that we're calling intention.
Hey there, Vision Clarity family. Quick pause because I've got something exciting to share with you today. I've discovered a program called The Language of Abundance that I believe can truly enhance our journey towards manifestation and abundance. This program is all about unlocking the power of positive thinking and attracting wealth into your life. It's simple, easy to follow, and has been praised by many for its effectiveness. Check out the link in the description below to learn more and get your hands on this life-changing tool today. Remember, we're all about growth and positivity here, and I believe this could be a great step forward for many of us. Stay blessed and keep manifesting. Now let's get back to our session.
In an eternal universe, you must view yourself and all others in infinite terms. Infinite terms means that you have an infinite number of opportunities to show up in a material body to co-create anything. As you view the sickness of the mind and body that permeates your own life as well as the rest of humanity, try viewing it as part of the infinite nature of our world. If starvation, pestilence, or disease are a part of the perfection of the universe, then so is your intention to end these things a part of that same perfection. Now decide to stay with that intention, first in your own life, then in the lives of others. Your intention will match up with the intention of the universe, which knows nothing of egos and separation, and all thoughts of illness as punishment and karmic paybacks will cease to exist. Making your intention your reality. What follows is my 10-step plan for implementing the intention of this chapter to optimize your capacity to heal and to be healed. Step 1. You can't heal anyone until you allow yourself to be healed. Connect to a loving, kind, receptive to healing energy, which is the field that intended you here. Be willing to accept the fact that you're a part of the healing energy of all of life. The same force that heals a cut on your hand and grows the new skin to repair it permanently is both in your hand and in the universe as well. You are it. It is you. There's no separation. Be conscious of staying in contact with this healing energy because it's impossible to separate from it except in your ego-diminished thoughts. Step 2. The healing energy that you've connected to at all times is what you have to give away to others. Offer this energy freely and keep your ego entirely out of the healing process. Remember how St. Francis responded when asked why he didn't heal himself of his diseases, which would cause his death at the age of 45. He said, quote, "I want everyone to know that it is God who does this healing," unquote. St. Francis was healed of ego domination, and he deliberately held on to his infirmities to teach others that it was God's energy working through him that provided the energy for all of his miraculous healings. Step 3. By raising your energy to a vibrational match with the field of intention, you're strengthening your immune system and increasing the production of well-being enzymes in the brain. A change in personality from being spiteful, pessimistic, angry, sullen, and disagreeable to one of passion, optimism, kindness, joy, and understanding is often the key when witnessing miraculous acts of spontaneous recovery from what were called fatalistic prognostications. Step 4. Practice surrender. Let go and let God is a great theme in the recovery movement. It's also a wonderful reminder in the world of healing. By surrendering, you're able to have reverence for and commune with this source of all healing. Remember that the field of intention doesn't know anything about healing per se because it's spiritual perfection already, and it creates from that perspective. It's ego consciousness that creates the disorder, disharmony, and even the diseases of our world. And it is in returning to that spiritual perfection that harmony of body, mind, and spirit are realized. Step 5. Don't ask to be healed, ask to be restored to that perfection from which you emanated. Let nothing interfere with the intention that you have to heal and be healed. Discard all negativity that you encounter. Refuse to let in any energy that will weaken your body or your resolve. Convey this to others as well. Remember, you're not asking your source to heal you, because this assumes health is missing from your life. Come to the source as whole and complete. Banish all thoughts of illness, and know that by connecting back to this source, filling yourself with it, and offering it to others, you become healing itself. Step 6. Know that you're adored. In the moment in which you're experiencing thoughts that make you feel sick or bad, do your best to change them to thoughts that support your feeling good. And if that seems impossible, then do your very best to say nothing at all. Be on the lookout for the opportunity to literally say to yourself, I feel good. I intend to attract more of this good feeling, and I intend to give it away to any and all in need of it. Step 7. Seek out and cherish the silence. Many people who have suffered with long-term illnesses have been able to return to their source through the channel of nature and contemplative silence. Spend time in quiet meditation, visualizing yourself coupled with a perfectly healthy field of intention. Commune with this source of all that is good, all that is well, and practice accessing this high spiritual energy, bathing your entire being in this light. Meditation is always healing for me. When I'm fatigued, a few moments in silence, accessing higher, loving, kind vibrations energizes me. When I feel out of sorts, a few moments in quietude, making conscious contact with God, provides me with all that I need to not only feel good, but to help others to do the same. I always remember Herman Melville's timely words, silence is the only voice of God. Step 8. To be health, you must totally identify with the wholeness that you are. You can stop seeing yourself as a physical body and immerse yourself in the idea of absolute well-being. This is your ultimate truth, and you can allow this dynamic aura of wholeness to saturate and animate your every thought until it is all that you have to give away. This is how you heal from the inner knowing and trust of your wholeness. Step 9. Allow health to stream into your life. Become conscious of resistance which interferes with the natural flow of healthy energy to you. This resistance is in the form of your thoughts. Any thought that's out of sync with the 7 phases of intention is a resistant thought. Any thought that says it's impossible to heal is a resistant thought. Any thought of doubt or fear is a resistant thought. When you observe these thoughts, note them carefully, and then deliberately activate thoughts that are in energetic, vibrational balance with the all-providing source of intention. And finally, step 10. Stay immersed in a state of gratitude. Be grateful for every breath you take, for all of your internal organs that work together in harmony, for the wholeness that is your body, for the blood streaming through your veins, for your brain that allows you to process these words and the ears that allow you to hear them. This is the surest way to keep the connecting link to perfect health clean and pure. One of the messages of Jesus of Nazareth is apropos of all that I've presented in this chapter on having a healing intention. He said, quote, "If you bring forth what is inside you, what you bring forth will save you. If you don't bring forth what is inside you, what you don't bring forth will destroy you." Unquote. What is inside you is the power of intention. No microscope will reveal it. You can find the command center with X-ray technology, but the commander in the command center remains impervious to our sophisticated probing instruments. You are that commander. You must allow yourself to be in vibrational harmony with the greatest commander of all and bring it forth to serve you, rather than allowing yourself to be in a state of disrepair.
Thanks for watching. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you about the Language of Abundance program I mentioned earlier. It's a game changer for anyone on a manifestation journey. Simple, effective, and designed to help you attract prosperity. If you're ready to take your journey to the next level, click the link below. Remember, we're all about positivity and growth here. So let's keep manifesting and creating the life we desire. Until next time, stay blessed and keep your vision clear.
Here's a great study that was just done recently. You know what serotonin is? It's the substance in the brain that when you have more of it, you are feeling more peaceful. It's what Prozac is designed to have the brain stimulate to create more of. So it is an antidepressant. It makes people feel better. It's serotonin. It's very hard to measure, but there are indicators in the blood that can indicate whether serotonin is present in higher or lower amounts. It's what you take Paxil for. It's what you take Wellbutrin for. It's what you take Buspar. All of these various names that we have for antidepressants are nothing more than just things that stimulate the brain to produce more serotonin. Here's a study. The recipient of an act of kindness, any act of kindness. You look nice today. May I help you with this? Here's $10. Go out and get yourself something for lunch. Let me pay off your loan. Is there anything I can do? Can I carry this for you? An act of kindness. Would you like to take my seat? It's okay. I don't mind standing. Whatever it is. When a person is the recipient of an act of kindness, serotonin levels are increased in the brain and the immune system is strengthened. Imagine. Now, the person extending the act of kindness towards another person has their immune system strengthened and has their serotonin levels increased. It's an amazing thing. There it is. There's the answer. All we have to do is be kinder. We have to be recipients of kindness and extenders of kindness, and we raise the serotonin level. We could just put the drug companies out of business. And we increase the immune system. But even more significant than what I've just described is this part of the study. That anyone who is an observer of an act of kindness also has their serotonin levels increased and their immune system strengthened. All you have to do is observe it. One of the studies that Deepak and I did together was when we talked about it on our tapes, creating your world the way you really want it to be, is they had a group of people meditating, and then they had people on the other side of the room not meditating. And when these people over here meditated, their serotonin levels increased because meditation does that. But the people who were in the room, just in the same energy field as those people who were making conscious contact with God, their serotonin levels and their immune system was strengthened. And then they did it where they had thousands of people doing it, and people in the community, just in the immediate surrounding community, had their immune system strengthened and serotonin levels increased because there were 7,000 people meditating here. There's an answer for world peace in there. There's a solution for how we deal with the problems that we face as a people. This is a round planet, folks. There's no choosing up sides. We are all sharing the same force. The universal force from which all things emanate is creative, it is kind, it is loving, it is love. I am love. And he that dwelleth in me dwelleth in love, and I in him. Love and God is the same. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. It's a stillness and it is love. God is love. He that dwelleth in love dwelleth in me. So the universal field couldn't be something that has hatred in it. It wouldn't hate what it would create, would it? It wouldn't create something that wasn't a part of what it is. It is loving. It is beauty. The universal field from which you emanated is beautiful and only brings beauty into this universe. You know, when I was raising my children, and I'm still doing that, one of my little girls, her name is Sky, and when she was just a baby, she would love to sit on my stomach when we were in the swimming pool or in the ocean. And she would just sit up there, and she would love to sing. And when she would sit up on there, we would sing this song. And I would put my arms in the water, and she would be sitting up there. She's a year and a half old, and she would laugh. She was always full of laughter and beauty. And we'd sing this song. And as we'd sing the song, I remember going back into my home and writing the words down, because they seem to me that some of the simplest things that we say to ourselves continuously often get repeated because there's such great wisdom in them. Like that quote I used earlier of Shakespeare's, to be or not to be. That is the question. It is the fundamental question that Emerson and Thoreau and Alcott and Hawthorne and Julia Ward Howe and all of these people who came here, Louisa May Alcott, so all of these people were asking these questions and asking people to look at their own lives and to find within them their own divinity and not be doubting that and finding fault with it. And as we would sing this song, I thought it had so much meaning, it had so much sense. And the song goes like this, most of you know it. We would sing, row, row, row. And as we would sing, row, 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 I would think that just means to me, just go out there into your life and be and work and do. Because when you're born, Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet, said, when you are born, your work is placed in your heart. There's something that you came here to do. There's no mistakes in this universe. The only mistakes are the mistakes that we have, that we are separate from the perfection into which we were created. Row, row, row your boat. Don't row my boat. Don't row somebody else's boat. Don't try to row a boat that somebody else tells you you should be rowing. Row, live, work your own boat. And how do you row this boat? Always gently. Always gently. Always with love. Always with peace. Always with kindness. Row your boat that way. Row your boat gently down the stream. Don't row up the stream. It takes away all of your energy. And it'll just create a counterforce of frustration for you. Get in the stream of life and row your boat gently down the stream with the currents of life, with the great Creator. Merrily, always with joy, always with cheerfulness, merrily, 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 merrily. And you know, Thoreau put it this way. He said, our truest life is when we are in our dreams awake. Because life is but a dream. Let's sing it together just for a minute. Together. Ready? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. That's all it is. It's just a dream. God bless you, and thank you for coming today.
Is that we have to have what we learned when I was studying literature back at the university. We have to have this thing called the willing suspension of disbelief. And this is what you do every time you go into a movie theater. You don't go up to the screen and look at the screen and say, you know, this is really ridiculous. I mean, this is 2 dimensions, and that's really light being projected onto that screen, and I'm not going to let my emotions be affected by a 2-dimensional light being projected up there. This is absurd. You don't do that. You willingly suspend your disbelief and allow yourself to be entertained. And then when the evening or when the movie is over, you pick up your doubt and you go out and make your own decisions about it. That's all I would ask. That's all I'm asking of some of the things that I'll be speaking about here this evening. It's just to willingly suspend your disbelief, like you do when you read a novel or see a movie, and then just allow it in. And try to allow it in with an absence of judgment. Just open yourself up to new possibilities, particularly possibilities for you. Because that quotation that is attributed to Jesus about even the least among you can do all that I have done, think about what that truly means. That means that you have a capacity within you to literally manifest whatever it is that you want for yourself through a miraculous process called intention. And I'd like to begin by talking about what that means. You see, when you reach this heightened state of awareness, what happens is that you begin to develop a consciousness that allows you to manage the coincidences of your life. Something that Carl Jung spent his lifetime writing about and talking about. That instead of thinking of things happening to you and the coincidences that sort of just show up in your life that you call miracles, or that you call, wow, wasn't that weird, or wasn't that an interesting set of circumstances for that all to come together like that. You begin to have a different awareness, which is where I place my attention and leave my attention by leaving my ego behind and allowing this higher part of myself to reside there. Where I keep my attention, I can literally bring into the world of the manifest. Or I can go from the wave to the particle, or whatever you want to call that. And that's a very intriguing notion. I wrote a book a few years ago called You'll See It When You Believe It. And I have a chapter in there that I called synchronicity. Now, this is a Jungian term. And it really sort of defines this process of how you can collaborate with fate. Now, most of us have been trained on a set of beliefs that keep us from having any conviction that this is something that is within our control. In fact, many of us have been trained to believe that to even think like this is blasphemous. To think that you have perhaps this kingdom of heaven is within you. And in reading the New Testament, and I always wonder about so much criticism when I remember talking on the Oprah show one time about God, that most people don't have a problem believing in God, they have a problem in knowing that they are God. That God is within them. And she said to me, she said, you realize that there's a lot of people watching all over this country, particularly in certain regions of the country, who are going to find this idea that they are God, pretty absurd. And I said, well, that's just the way it is. And then as I was getting prepared to write this new book, I came across St. Paul's letters to the Philippians. And in Philippians 2, which is a series of letters that St. Paul wrote after being in prison, about words of Jesus, because St. Paul literally wrote the New Testament. And he said these words. And I often want to ask the people who find this so blasphemous what these words mean. He said in Philippians 2, verses 5 and 6, he said, have in you the same mind as Christ Jesus, who, being in the form of God, did not consider it robbery to be equal with God. And so I would ask you to consider that and have that mind. That God is not just something that is outside of you, but that you are extensions of it. And it doesn't really matter what you call it. And you've got to understand the 7 words, I think, that were most important ever strung together came out of Proverbs in the Old Testament. As you think, so shall you be. As you think, so shall you be. Now, it doesn't say, as you be, so shall you think, even though that's how most of us run our lives. Those words are really all-out crucial, because once you get it and understand that what you think about is what expands, as you think, so shall you be is what rules the universe. Once you know it, not just believe it, but once you know it, then you start getting real careful about what you think about. Real careful. Because all of those thoughts, all of those doubts, are the things that will manifest themselves into your life. Now, it's real simple matter to shift around and begin to pay attention first to the spirit, the invisible side of you, and secondly, to the physical part of you. Most of us don't do that. And it's such a simple matter, I can give you just like a real brief example of how it works. Most of us are as you be, so shall you think kinds of people. So that when things happen to us in the physical world, whatever they may be, we allow our inner world to be affected by them. And so between my office and my home, it's a 17-mile drive that I make every day, twice a day. Now, there was a time when I would get in my car, when I was an as you be, so shall you think kind of person, when I didn't understand the simple words that James Allen wrote in the last century when he said, circumstances do not make a man, they reveal him. The circumstances of our life reveal the kinds of choices that we've been making. And I used to get in my car and drive to my home, and depending upon how the traffic went, or whether there was construction, or whether there were delays, or whether there were difficulties, or struggles, or problems, I would then allow my mood at home to be determined by that. And then I learned how to shift that, and how to first begin to visualize in my mind what it is that I wanted this trip to be like for myself. And I do this every day now before I get in the car. I get a picture of how it's going to be in the next half an hour. Very peaceful. It takes me about a minute and a half. 2 or 3 deep breaths. This is going to be a peaceful, wonderful trip home. I'm not going through any yellow lights. The little lady who drives that 1977 Cadillac in the left-hand lane, she's had the seat removed from her car. She sits on the floorboard and you can just see this little head sitting up there. She has signed an oath to drive around aimlessly, delay me. She's in divine order. She's exactly where she belongs. I'm going to bless her today instead of being mad at her. I'm going to understand that this is a perfect universe and that it's all in order and that I don't have to rush. And if there's construction, it's supposed to be there. There's no accidents. There's no accidents. And I'm going to take my time and I'm just going to be very peaceful all the way home. As you think, so shall you be. And then I get in the car, and there she is, sure enough, about 2 miles from the house, and I waved, and I thank you for being here. If I were to try to go around you like I used to, I would probably have a head-on collision, or there's an officer there to give me a traffic ticket or whatever. I bless you for being there. And I get home, and I don't go through any lights, any yellow light. Don't rush, don't change lanes. Very peaceful. And I get home at the same time every day. Same time as I used to, only I'm now allowing myself to understand a very simple premise.
How we perceive something within ourselves, in the environment within us, how we perceive it can literally take the things that are going on inside of us and alter them and change them. Can you imagine that? So it's like a whole new way of thinking.
As you begin to more and more harmonize in this way, what happens is that you start elevating your thoughts so that the habit of how you think becomes more harmonized rather than a polarity with what you want to attract. It becomes harmonized with it, and it becomes your natural way of how you think all the time.
I believe that success is an inner concept. Inner concept. It is something that is part of your own inner development. When you have it inside of you, and you cultivate that, and that's what I want to try to help parents to do with their children. When you carry that around inside of you, you bring it to every single thing that you do in life. Everything that you do. You bring it to your children. You don't get it from raising them the right way. You don't get it by closing the deal. You bring it to every aspect of the deal. You don't get it by focusing on your commission and how much am I going to get, and if I divide this and if I do that, and always being concerned with your own quotas. You get it by forgetting about your quotas and focusing on your customers. You simply go out and advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams and endeavor to live your own kind of life the way you choose, making every day a miracle, and success will chase after you and arrive in your life in amounts greater than you ever anticipated in any present moment of your life. I use the analogy of the bag boys. There are one baggers and two baggers in the world. The one bagger is the bag boy in the store who, when he's bagging your groceries, he's sort of tired and he's sort of got a real bad attitude about what he's doing, and he's only getting a few dollars an hour, and he picks up a loaf of bread and puts it on the bottom and put a few tomatoes down there to keep it nice so that the bread and tomatoes mix nice when the can of grapefruit juice goes on top of it or whatever, and he doesn't give a damn, and he's slow, and his attitude is that there's no one cashier in the world that I cannot make stop and help me bag an order, even if they've only got one item, all right? That's his philosophy, and he kind of goes and does that. Now, you look at that and you say, well, maybe it's just because he's bagging groceries. That's what it is. But it's not. You see, because right in the same store, there's somebody else making the same money, who's got the same benefits, who is like a double bagger, and his philosophy is there's no two cashiers in the world that I cannot keep up with. They'll never have to touch a bag. And then there are a few that are triple baggers. I used to be a triple bagger. I worked for Kroger's through my master's bagging groceries. That's what I got through it and paid for it. I used to make a contest
and see if I could get 3 cashiers and bag for all 3 of them and say something pleasant to them and have fun. And the hour would go by like that, and the people would always want to come to my lines, and there was that kind of a fun thing. I looked forward to doing it. Now, the one-baggers, 5 years later, they get passed over for a job promotion for manager of a store if they're still there. And they go home and they tell their wife that that shouldn't have happened. They passed me over. They're prejudiced. They don't like me because I'm too tall, or I'm too short, or I'm the wrong color, or I'm the wrong size, or I'm a female, or I'm a male, or whatever it is. They've got their reasons, you see. And they go through their whole lives being single baggers. Even up into their retirement years, they're still making excuses and finding fault and blaming the rest of the world for what is. And the double bagger owns a chain of Kroger stores.
Success, again, is an inner process. When you have it inside of you, you're not looking for it. And consequently, you bring success to everything that you do. I've never believed that people who work real hard and do all the right things make a lot of money and then become successful. I think it's the other way around. I think successful people make a lot of money at whatever they do and make a lot of friends and all of that, because the successful person is someone who has it within them, and they bring it to all these different things. And so they're never looking for it, and they're not surprised at how well they do at virtually everything. Goal setting is something that a lot of confusion about. There's nothing wrong with having a goal as long as you don't fall in love with it, and as long as you understand that every step on the way to the achievement of the goal is just as important as every other step, including the one wherein you reach it. That we only get nows, we only get present moments to live, and that to want to be something 5 years from now assumes that you're going to be here then, in this body, in the way that you are living now. And that's a very blatant assumption, that if you always have that 5-year notion, there will come a time when you won't be able to achieve that.
When I said that success is an inner concept, so is happiness, so is love, so is approval. If you think that you're going to find fulfillment if you set a goal out there, and then you work real hard for that goal, and when you get there, you'll finally have it, your life is all this striving. What you need is a psychology of arriving, not striving. You know, you're thinking about what I'm going to do and I'm going to get here. Meantime, every one of these days are your life. This is all you get. So the goals, while there's nothing wrong with goals at all, it's like every step along the way is just as important to savor as arriving here. And if you're only goal-oriented and only striving, you're only about halfway up the ladder of no-limit people. You are always going to suffer from the disease of more if you only have goals to arrive at in the future. Because this becomes your life, this striving. And when you get here, you don't know what to do with this. You don't know how to handle what you've got. So then you upgrade your goal. You say, all right, I'll have 200,000 in the bank instead of 100,000. And now your life becomes more struggling, more suffering, more trying to get there. And you get here, and then all of a sudden you look around and you're an old person. And you say, what happened to my life?
You see, the more you operate from goal setting in the sense of repairing deficiencies, the more your life becomes one of striving. Your life becomes a striving. And when and when you arrive at the place where you want it to be, you don't know how to be there because your whole life has been striving. If it's a week from Thursday, you're looking toward whatever it is, that party or the bank account that you're going to now have the amount of money that you wanted in it, and you finally get there after all this struggling, and then Thursday arrives, you don't know how to deal with that because your whole life has been in anticipation of, and so when you get there, you suffer from this disease called more, and I've got to get more of that.
I had a woman from Holland who came over to see me, whose husband had left her after 25 years. She had 4 children. And she just had been on the verge of suicide. And she was losing weight, and she was depressed, and she was taking all kinds of drugs for it. And she was getting sicker and sicker because she just couldn't get over it. And she came to a book signing that I was doing at a bookstore down in Florida. And she said, you've got to say something to me. You've got to say something to me that will help me to get over this. And I told her this line. I said, give up your personal history. Merge yourself here, now, into this moment. And those 25 years are something, if you want to understand how to do it, think of your past as, this hat. And this is your past. Now, you can't just set this thing down over here and walk away from it
and give up your personal history, because you'll always have it there to look back at. What you do is you pick up your past and you embrace it. You understand it, you accept it, as I had to go through these things that I had to go through in order for me to get to this place today, and the evidence for that is that I did. You don't need any more evidence. You did. And then you toss it. You toss it. You embrace it, and you toss it. And you merge into the now by giving up your attachment. And some of you have heard me use the metaphor of the wake. Alan Watts talked about the wake is not what drives the boat. The wake is just a trail that is left behind. That's all it is. And so is the wake of your life. And the wake doesn't make the boat go, and neither does the wake of your life, the reason why your life is going in the direction that it is. The wake is a trail that is left behind, and it's an illusion to believe that it is the cause of your suffering or your struggles or your difficulty. Give it up. Let it go. Embrace it, understand it, get help doing that if you must, and then move into the now. Wisdom is avoiding all thoughts which weaken you. You know, every thought has an energy, just like everything else in the universe. And if you have a thought of shame, it will weaken your muscles. And what is your heart but a muscle? If you raise a child who believe in shame and feel ashamed of themselves, every time they think that shameful thought, they will be weakened. And if you have a thought of fear, and if you have a thought of stress, and you have a thought of anguish and anxiety, all of these thoughts and many more are the thoughts that will always weaken you. When you are having a thought that you know is disempowering you, shift it. Shift it to one that is empowering rather than disempowering. And the thoughts that empower are thoughts of neutrality and willingness and love, and ultimately thoughts of divinity. And when you see a troubled person who is out there struggling at the highest level of unity consciousness or God consciousness, or spiritual consciousness, you recognize yourself in all that you see. There, but for the grace of God, go I. And I am connected to that person. Changing your thoughts. I appeared on the Tonight Show many years ago, several times, quite a few times. And I remember coming home from the Tonight Show, and I was walking along the beach, and they had taped the show the night before, and I was out for a walk, and a woman who lived in the Northeast stopped me, and she said, "Didn't I see you last night on the, how could you be here?" I said, "Well, I flew the red eye, and I was walking along." She said, "You know, we're moving down here." She said, "What are the people like here? What's it like?" And I said to her, I said, "Well, what are they like where you live?" She said, I live in a very big city. And she said, they're very pushy. And people are not very kind. And they don't have time for you. And she said, it's really not very pleasant. She said, that's one of the reasons I'm leaving there. I said, well, that's pretty much what you're going to find here. That's basically what the people are like here. On the way back on the same day, someone else who had seen me the night before on the Tonight Show, who had lived in the Midwest, stopped me and asked me almost the same question. She said, "You live here?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, my husband and I are moving here and we're looking for a school." She said, "What are the people like here? What's it like here?" I said, "What are they like in Chicago where you live?" She said, "It's the Midwest." She said, "People are very friendly, they're open, they open their homes to you, they're very loving, they're very kind." She said, "It's a wonderful place." She said, "I love that. I'm going to really miss that." I said, "That's pretty much what you're going to find here." It's what you expect. It's what you think about that expands. It's what Emerson taught us. The ancestor to every action is a thought. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. Change your expectations, and you change around what you begin to manifest and see showing up in your life.
Every single person on the planet has within them the potential to be a healer. In order to make conscious contact with your inherent healing powers, you must first make the decision to be healed yourself. Reconnect to the disease-free, loving perfection from which you came is a succinct statement of what self-healing process requires. The universal mind of intention knows precisely what you need in order to optimize your health. What you must do is notice your thoughts and your behaviors, which are creating resistance and interfering with healing, which is the flow of intentional energy. Recognizing your resistance is something that's entirely up to you. That source is never focused on what's wrong, what's missing, or even what's sickly. True healing takes you back to the source. Anything short of this connection is just a temporary fix. When you clean up the connecting link to your source, attractor patterns of energy are drawn to you. If you don't believe that this is possible, then you've created resistance to your intention to heal and to be healed. If you believe that it is possible, but not for you, then you have more resistance. If you believe that you're being punished by the absence of health, that's also resistance. These inner thoughts about your ability to be healed play a dominant role in your physical experience. Becoming a healer by healing oneself involves another one of those imaginary somersaults into the inconceivable, where you land upright and balanced in your thoughts face to face with your source. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that you and your source are one when you let go of the ego mind, which has convinced you that you're separate from the power of intention. From thoughts of sickness to intentions of wellness. The decision to create is the decision to intend. To create healing, you can't have thoughts of illness and anticipate your body falling victim to disease. Become aware of the thoughts you have that support the idea of sickness as something to be expected. Begin noticing the frequency of those thoughts. The more they occupy your mental landscape, the more resistance you're creating to realizing your intention. You know what those thoughts of resistance sound like. I can't do anything about this arthritis. It's the flu season. I feel okay now, but by the weekend it'll be in my chest and I'll have a fever. We live in a carcinogenic world. Everything is either fattening or filled with chemicals. I feel so tired all of the time. On and on and on these thoughts of resistance go. They're like huge barricades blocking the realization of your intentions. Notice the thoughts that represent a decision on your part to buy into the illness mentality of the huge profit-making drug companies and a healthcare industry that thrives on your fears. But you're the divine, remember? You're a piece of the universal mind of intention, and you don't have to think in these ways. You can opt to think that you have the ability to raise your energy level, even if all of the advertising around you points to a different conclusion. You can go within and hold an intention that says, I want to feel good. I intend to feel good. I intend to return to my source, and I refuse to allow any other thoughts of disorder or disease in. This is the beginning. You'll feel empowered by this unique experience. Then in any given moment of not feeling well, choose thoughts of healing and feeling good. In that instant, feeling good takes over, if only for a few seconds. Illness is not a punishment. You don't have a need for healing because you were bad or ignorant or as retribution for past life offenses. You've taken on whatever you're experiencing for whatever lessons you need to learn on this journey, which is being orchestrated by the all-providing intelligence that we're calling intention. In an eternal universe, you must view yourself and all others in infinite terms. Infinite terms means that you have an infinite number of opportunities to show up in a material body to co-create anything. As you view the sickness of the mind and body that permeates your own life as well as the rest of humanity, try viewing it as part of the infinite nature of our world. If starvation, pestilence, or disease are a part of the perfection of the universe, then so is your intention to end these things a part of that same perfection. Now decide to stay with that intention, first in your own life, then in the lives of others. Your intention will match up with the intention of the universe, which knows nothing of egos and separation, and all thoughts of illness as punishment and karmic paybacks will cease to exist. You can't heal anyone until you allow yourself to be healed. Connect to a loving, kind, receptive to healing energy, which is the field that intended you here. Be willing to accept the fact that you're a part of the healing energy of all of life. The same force that heals a cut on your hand and grows the new skin to repair it permanently is both in your hand and in the universe as well. You are it. It is you. There's no separation. Be conscious of staying in contact with this healing energy because it's impossible to separate from it except in your ego-diminished thoughts. By raising your energy to a vibrational match with the field of intention, you're strengthening your immune system and increasing the production of well-being enzymes in the brain. A change in personality from being spiteful, pessimistic, angry, sullen, and disagreeable to one of passion, optimism, kindness, joy, and understanding is often the key when witnessing miraculous acts of spontaneous recovery from what were called fatalistic prognostications. Don't ask to be healed. Ask to be restored to that perfection from which you emanated. Let nothing interfere with the intention that you have to heal and be healed. Discard all negativity that you encounter. Refuse to let in any energy that will weaken your body or your resolve. Convey this to others as well. Remember, you're not asking your source to heal you because this assumes health is missing from your life. Come to the source as whole and complete. Banish all thoughts of illness and know that by connecting back to this source, filling yourself with it, and offering it to others, you become healing itself.
I love surly waiters when I go to a restaurant. I do. I love to go to check in at an airport and have just a bitch to deal with when I'm getting on the plane. Imagine yourself, just for a moment, just imagine yourself going through what you are about to go through and doing it like Pollyanna. Or like, somebody, I always loved it because people often call me Pollyanna. And Marianne Williamson used to always say, Pollyanna? That's the greatest role model in the world. She said she shows up in a town and everybody's nasty and ugly and mean and poor and nobody's not, and she leaves the town and everybody's happy and joyful and people are working and, so it's like imagine yourself being able to be in the presence of this bad man. As Lao Tzu says, a bad man is a good man's job, that if you thought of this as your job, as something, like you're going to turn this guy around. It doesn't mean you're going to stay with him. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that you are so firm and strong in your convictions and in your thoughts that you can look at him like Mother Teresa did and see Jesus Christ in another distressing disguise. And you are so free in that moment. And then when you start to do that, like with the surly waiter, for me, it's like the person I can't wait till the end of the meal because this person is usually bringing me extra desserts and wanting to come to my house and they become, you can turn them around. And my secretary, Maya, she's been with me for 30 years. She's seen me do it 1,000 times. We walk up to check into an airplane and they tell us we can't do this and we can't do that. And she just knows, just step aside. This is like, it's time. And it's time for me to do my work. And the work is like, the work comes from a book I wrote called There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. Lord, said St. Francis, make me an instrument of thy peace. He didn't say, I don't have any peace. God, please just send me some peace. Send me a peaceful man. Send me somebody that's nice. He didn't say that. He said, make me an instrument of thy peace. In other words, let me be like what I came from. Let me be like you, what I came from. And where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is injury, let me bring pardon. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. So that when you're in a dark room, and it's totally dark, this is a very low energy. Now, when you bring light to the present, when you light a match in a dark room, you don't have to say to the darkness, you better get out of here. You're going to have to scurry because I'm about to light a candle. You don't do that. When you bring light to the presence of darkness, not only does the darkness dissolve and disappear, but the miracle is that the darkness becomes light. That's what you want to do. You want to be someone who radiates out this high spiritual energy at such a place that the great testers, like your husband, he's just a great tester. He was sent to you. My father was a great tester. He walked out on me when I was a baby. He abandoned all of us. He spent 5 years of his life in prison. He was an alcoholic. He was abusive. He never sent a penny in support. I didn't get it until I was 34 years old and went to his grave in 1974 and was able to forgive him. I feel my father's presence here right now. He was one of the most important teachers in my life, and he was a bastard by every definition. And all 5 of his wives that he abused in the same way, all of whom I researched, all said the same thing. He taught me forgiveness. And because of my ability to go to his grave in Biloxi, Mississippi on the 27th of August in 1974, I walked away from there a totally free man. I wrote Erroneous Zones in 14 days, and my whole life, everything turned around because I was able to give that hatred out of my heart. The hatred that is, and the pain that is in there. There's a Chinese proverb that says, if you're going to pursue revenge, you'd better dig 2 graves. 2 graves. One for yourself. And that whole idea that forgiveness, Mark Twain said, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. If you can just be love, what Katie was talking about, be that, especially when he is in the picture, especially then, and turn that around, your divorce will flow smoothly. Someone came up to me with tears bigger than yours back there saying that I just turned my marriage around, and I was married to someone that I never thought. Who was the lady? There was a lady who came up to me and said that very thing not too long ago, maybe an hour ago. And I turned around a marriage that was just headed into the dumper just by practicing what we're talking about today. Is that helpful?
It is.
Good.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless you.